Hello, everybody.
Hello.
The show is now. Thumbs up. The show is now. We were like 1 minute late. That wasn't like horrible.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I know I saw Harley Kitten ask. Yes, I'm on the road. I am in a studio condo thing in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I am where Julian is. Not where he, close to where he is.
Close, yeah.
His vicinity. So both of these gentlemen that are on with us tonight have been on before. We have JF from Resale Heroes, and we have George. I think George is a regular now. Love. We are okay with that.
Yes.
So I will go ahead and let everybody introduce themselves. If you don't know, my co-host next to me is Julian, Bearded Thrift Machine. He is here with me every Tuesday, pretty much. Yes, Kat is taking it on the. We are going all over the road, but only 1 week on the live show away from home. I'm going to let the gentlemen introduce themselves, and then I will kind of sum up my endeavor so far. All right, JF, I am going to let you go first, and then we will let George introduce himself, and then we will talk to the lovely people.
Sounds good. Oh, I'm all zoomed in now. Hey, everybody, it's JF from Resale Heroes. We are eBay sellers. We specialize in video games, collectibles. We do magic cards, Pokemon cards, movies, you name it, we got it. And actually, we hit a pretty big milestone last week. We passed 3,000 feedback, and we did all of that in just over a year. So that's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah. And so the slow season's still in effect, but it's starting. Like we're really aiming for the moon. So we're really setting ourselves up to have a really big busy season. But that's kind of my intro, I guess. So Thanks so much for being here.
Here is George.
Well, hey, everybody. I'm George the Antique Nomad, and I am an antique dealer, vintage dealer, appraiser. I conduct estate sales. I do a lot of real world stuff. I also do sell on eBay, although not as heavily as these folks. And I just love everything about antiques and vintage and reselling. It's just great to be back, especially because these folks know a lot more about the online world of reselling. So I learn something every time I'm here.
I'm coming, George. Hold on. I was dropping your link. I'm not that. I'm not that great at. I'm trying to multitask. If anyone can help me with dropping links, Richard could not make it tonight. He messaged me and let me know. So if somebody can drop links, message me on Facebook. If we're friends. If not, I don't know.
If not, become friends
only.
If not, become friends on Facebook. Yes, we do. We love everything about George. So, Yay. I will tell you guys what has happened, and I'm going to leave the names up here right now so you guys can see. Thank you, Mega Man Wins. Oh, look, Flippin' Okie wants to know if you're in radio, George, because your voice is so perfect.
Oh, that's nice. I was a singer in a really loud, obnoxious rock band, but I did take vocal lessons, so I think that helped a little bit.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Everybody's links are in the description. I probably won't be able to drop links too much unless, hopefully, Jennifer Hayes will come in. She helps a lot when she comes in. But if not, the links are all down in the description. So I left Florida at 8 o'clock yesterday morning and stopped in Savannah at noon. I went where George told me. He told me to go. What is it called? Pickin' Joe's, right?
Picker Joe's.
Picker Joe's.
Yeah.
And
was it any good?
I found nothing.
Really?
Well, I found one little vase. And the thrift stores were the same in Savannah. I had a dud of a day in Savannah, Georgia. And I did find a couple of shoes, though. One of them sells for over $100. So it wasn't like a total bust, but it wasn't like my normal that I'm used to. So, Mark.
That's such a shame.
Let me tell Mark. It like, and I don't know. Normally I do. I'm telling Mark, I'm putting my name, and anybody else, I don't care. That's my name on Facebook. If you message me, I have a whole notepad full of all of the links already ready, and I can give it to you. if you will help. Is Mark, hold on. He is a moderator. Okay. So I found a bunch of shoes, which is not my typical and it's not my go-to, but it was what was there. So I think out of all I did at an antique store in Savannah, I found a really large piece of art glass with a sea turtle that is absolutely stunning. I paid $45. I think I should get $200 to $300 for it. So, I mean, I found a couple things, but it wasn't what I expected, which is probably best because I don't have much room in my car. And I still have to go see Jocelyn, Dale, and Dagny.
Yeah, you'll be full.
I will be packed. Pam says she messaged me. Okay, hold on. You got Julian, talk.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Talk about our trip.
Yeah, we went thrifting today, me and Kat. There'll be a video on my channel here probably the next week or so whenever I get to that part in my GoPro. But it was good. I thought we did good. She gave me a lot of stuff that I didn't see. So I found a super cool genie lamp, something.
For
like that's not a genie lamp. It's
that thing's made of silver or something. We don't know what it's made of yet.
Oh, cool.
Maybe George could tell us. So George, it's like a oil lamp base, but it's only like an inch tall. And the wick you actually like screw and unscrew and it pops up and down out of the middle.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a miniature oil lamp. And not all silver, if it's really old, is marked.
It's JB Rogers was the sticker on it.
Okay. Yeah. Rogers is silver plate. So, yeah, it's everything Rogers seems to be silver plate. Some companies like Gorham made sterling and silver plate and even in the same patterns, but Rogers is silver plate.
Cool.
But I think we found comps for like 42 or 45 still, even on the silver plate one.
Oh, yeah. Miniature oil lamps are pretty popular. And now that everyone's crazy about fairy lamps, it seems like that's carrying over. And now the miniature oil lamps are coming up, too.
Oh, that's interesting. I know like the Aladdin shape. I found a few Aladdin shaped things and those seem to be doing pretty well, too.
Always. Yeah,
I was about
never goes out.
I was like, I don't know what this thing is. Cat's like, it's a lamp. And I was like,
what is this? He's like, like, hey.
Like, this is out of my realm of knowledge. I'm putting it back. She's like, no, you should probably buy it. I was like, okay.
Oh,
yeah, sometimes you just got to push yourself. I've got a whole box of golf clubs and putters because of you, Julian. So I was just looking at, there's a couple of Cobras, and then I noticed all the putters in the bottom, which I didn't notice until today when I took them out because the two drivers looked like the interesting thing. Does anybody buy putters?
Oh, yeah, that would be, yesterday I sold 10 or 8 golf clubs, I forget, and most of them were putters. Like I would say 7 were putters. Yep. And a lot of, right now I'm selling like, they're not high-end putters. Like I'm selling like some stuff for only like $10 to $15, but they're selling faster than my expensive ones. Like I think only one was over $50.
Oh, wow.
So I've sold some lower-end clubs lately. Like all like out of the stuff that I sold this weekend, all were lower-end. None were my high-dollar clubs.
Interesting. All the people who had the money to play golf already are out doing it, and now the new people are taking it up.
Yeah. Like maybe we should play golf, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. I want to give you one of these old putters, see if I like it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Kayla, that is Julian's girlfriend there, Southern Pearl Thrifter, she went with us today too. And what was it? A jacket or something? Something. She's like, oh, I looked at it, but it was good. We found a few good things today, I think. I told Julian, though, I was mad. The last thrift store we went to, I ran back in to go to the bathroom because I'm like, I don't know how long it'll take to get back to the resort. And there was a $75 Tommy Bahama beach umbrella right outside the bathroom. I'm like, I'm going to grab it when I go out. I didn't see it the first time. I like come out of the bathroom. This lady's putting it in her cart. And I'm like, man, that would have been like my highest profit thing. But you can't bring it in the bathroom. I thought about being like, oh, ma'am, that's mine. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Aw. Yeah, it's tough, that whole merchandise in the bathroom thing. I get that because I'll have a whole bucket
I'm just
full,
gonna push
and then I'm like,
whole
what do
cart
I do?
Yeah. Look at Mark. Mark is dropping.
That is a real struggle though, because you're like, man, I've spent so much time in here, and if I leave it out here, all the good stuff sitting right here, somebody could just come by and like pick it up.
Yeah.
All the time invested, it's gone.
I saw a couple of you sent me friend requests, which I will approve you, but I see Pam and Mark both are dropping links. So I think we're good on links. Otherwise, we'll have like too many links. So Pam and Mark, thank you both. I appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, definitely. Oh, placemats. Did Kayla say about the placemats? So listen, so we went, the first Goodwill we went to, I think it was the first one. We went to a few. I found 4 placemats that comped out at $75. They were tag imports or something, just plain striped placemats. And then I found another set of placemats at the second Goodwill that comped out at like $45. And those are normally only like $1 or $2. So if you guys aren't looking at the linen, look at the linen, especially like placemats. Like I've sold quite a bit of vintage pillowcases for like $20 for one pillowcase. So don't pass up the linens for sure. Yes. Yeah. So Pam dropped my shirt link. There's only one more week to get the shirt with me and Dalton on it. It's like a 2-week campaign. I didn't even touch the computer and the link went away. Like, I wonder if it has like a signal thing. Do you know what I mean?
No. What?
Like, never mind. But I didn't touch it and it went away.
It's a smart computer. Thanks for itself.
I think it is a smart computer.
Yeah.
So my sales have been like insane. Oh, hold on. Woohoo! Yvonne got him. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that one.
And the answer is no, it's not normal.
Oh, that was great. Just let it flow. Yeah. So Mick Jodo says Ralph Lauren. Yeah, I just sold the Tommy Hilfiger sheets for like $40 too. Yeah, I like linens, and I've got so many shoes. Yes, we will not have any of that to Jay, who I've never seen in here before, but you know, I think I hear Dalton coming in, so this might get a little interesting. Just saying.
Everybody be on your best behavior.
Listen, I don't see any questions tonight. Do you guys not have questions except for a non-appropriate one?
Well, I have a question, and that is, JF, tell us a little bit about what part of Canada you're in and what thrifting is like there, because I find it really interesting that I'm only familiar with Vancouver and Victoria and the West Coast.
Yeah, so I'm in Eastern Canada, or otherwise known as the Maritimes. So it's way to the east, past all the big parts of Canada. It's just like the tail end. And I live in a province with like 700,000 people. It's pretty small and surrounded by a few other smaller provinces. So thrifting here, we really don't thrift that much because we don't have access to bigger, I'll say retail stores, but like bigger chains, like the Goodwills and all that stuff. We've got Salvation Army, and we do have access. Like there's a handful of secondhand stores that we have visited, but we don't really do clothing that much yet. So of course they have plenty of clothing to go around, but they have kind of wonky prices on their games and the other things that we do look at. But we have made a few trips to the thrift stores. They have stuff. There's just not, 20 stores around. There's a few. So what we do for sourcing instead is, so in the States, there's Craigslist. In Canada, there's Kijiji. It's a funny name, but whatever. It's just, so we use Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji to do all the sourcing. Or in other words, we use online classifieds and networking to do our sourcing. And so we know exactly what we're getting. So we don't have, we handpick ads of what we want and we negotiate, where maybe Julian and Kat just kind of walk in and it's a mystery what they're going to pick every time, which is awesome. But we just don't really have that access here as much. But at the same time, we get to choose exactly what we're looking for. But because it's not like a yard sale or a thrift store, we do end up paying more than maybe you would pay. But at the same time, we do make sure to negotiate for a price that we know that we can make profit on. And we've actually networked with a few local stores to help them by emptying their shelves and filling ours. And so it's pretty cool where we have a few suppliers that we can go to, and they can give us. Right now, actually today, we negotiated for 3,000 music CDs, which music CDs aren't like exciting items. I mean, you can sell them for like $10 or whatever, but we're getting them for like $0.25 each, which is crazy. So they're very bulk, like it's just a bulk item. It's not like you paid $1 and you flip it for 500. It's just you paid $0.25 and you're flipping it for $10 kind of thing. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're working on now.
No, that's great. I mean, actually, there's lots of good ways to source. Where I am currently, the thrift stores are horrible. Okay. I just put out a video yesterday, and I mean, I went through an entire Goodwill, and there wasn't anything old, and there wasn't really anything interesting in newer goods either. I mean, I don't know like Kat does as far as the breadth of a lot of newer things, but I do a lot of estate sales, so we sell newer things alongside of old, and we have to research and find out what we've got. So I've got some awareness. And it just is, there's just nothing in this part of the country. So sourcing is done differently here too. It's auctions, it's a lot of online classifieds are a good way to source, especially if you're in a place where the thrifts aren't so good. And in a way, you get to pick and choose a little more because you kind of know what you're getting because you already saw the ad and the pictures enough to, the thrift stores are really fun for sort of a blind, I just showed up and there it was, and it's
right.
really fun when it happens, but
or it's not there,
or it's not there.
Like Savannah was so horrible.
Yeah.
It happens. Sella has a question for George. Did Whiting and Davis make items they didn't mark? I have a brooch I found online, but they are all marked. This is a quality piece down to the details.
You'd be welcome to send me a picture at theantiquenomad.com and I can take a look for you. Some Whiting and Davis had a little metal tag that was attached and people would take it off because it would snag their clothing or they just didn't like it. So it's entirely possible that you have an unmarked piece. And some of the pieces like the neck cowls and things that had a chain behind are not marked. So really, you kind of have to just look at the quality. If it's a mesh piece, how the mesh is laid, and if it's Whiting and Davis, for you folks who don't know, did a lot of metal mesh jewelry. In fact, they're still in business. They're just about the only one, and they did all those mesh beaded purses mesh purses.
I think I have two of their mesh purses, I believe.
Yeah, they're neat. And I mean, they made them up until modern times because they always manage to get celebrities. Every time their sales start to go down, they get some celebrity to wear them on the red carpet.
And then make them popular.
Yeah.
Kraus House Sift and Thrift. Kat, what do you think of Julian's thrift stores? Are they very different from yours in Florida? Yes. I mean, they kind of look the same, but I found what did I find today, Julian? I found the placemats, I think was the most prominent thing. I found
some Kate Spade shoes.
Huh?
Kate Spade shoes, the ones with a little mouse.
Oh yeah, I found Kate Spade shoes. And then now I can't even remember what I found. Julian, what did I find?
You found some clothes.
I found the Temptations bag that's worth like $40 to $60. If you guys know like the kitchenware by Temptations, they have a big carrying bag that has a zip on the bottom for a casserole, and then you can put food in the top, and it sells for like $40 to $60, and it was like $3. I don't do a lot of Goodwill shopping, and me and Julian went to Goodwill's. We're probably going to go thrifting again tomorrow. I saw another little local one, so I like the local ones over Goodwill. I seem to find better things, and typically it is better prices. The last one I went to today, that was not the case. They had like some stuff marked at like $10 that was probably sell for $5. Like it was like, because they're on the beach almost. Mm-hmm. Like they think they can just like charge extremely crazy amounts for stuff. But like his Goodwills, I feel like are very similar to my Goodwills. I just have a lot of mom and pop thrift stores that I prefer to shop at home. And those are a lot better to me. Lori Sonstron over on Facebook. Thank you for all of you watching over on Facebook. Thank you for watching us. She said, how about suggestions for newbies for the whole process of thrifting and reselling? And we will let JF go first to answer that.
All right. What a great question. I'm excited. So, yeah, there's so much to say. Where to start? I would say if you're just starting out or if you haven't started, keep your costs as low as possible and leverage your time as much as you can while getting as much stuff for free as you can. So we're at a point in our business where we don't go thrifting. We do all the things online, like I said, and that makes it so we only source a few hours a week, really, which gives us the maximum amount of time to do listing. But we didn't start there. We worked our way up to there. So you can get free boxes. So first of all, you got to choose a product that you know, like start somewhere, right? Start with something that you know. So if Julian sells golf clubs and a bunch of other things, and everybody sells something different. So we sell video games and a lot of things that fit in similar envelopes or similar boxes or whatever. So you can get free boxes at supermarkets, liquor stores, and I mean, there's plenty of places. You can probably get free bubble wrap at furniture stores because they just throw that stuff out. So again, to save on time, we're at a point where we just pay for it. But when you're just starting out, you can get a lot of this stuff for free. You can even ask, like my brother's wife sells Norwex, which is just a company that does, I'd be terrible at explaining this, but anyway, it's an MLM company. And so she'll sell things. And so when she orders products, they come with bubble wrap inside the boxes, and they offered it to me. So ask your people around you what kind of stuff you can get for free. And if you don't have a lot of money to start out, what you could do is you can take things that you have around your house that you don't need anymore and start there and sell that. And I'm sure you have a shelf of books or old movies or some stuff that you don't even know has value that you could probably squeeze out a couple $100 to get your business started. And then you can just continue to reinvest that and really wouldn't have cost you anything. And I could keep on talking, but I'm sure everybody else has other things to say too. But I think those are a few good tips to start.
Yeah, those are great tips. And I would say, since they specifically asked about thrifting, when I first started, I actually did get all my stuff at thrift stores. And maybe it was easier to find vintage and old stuff then, but also I was buying stuff, 25 years ago that was 15 and 20 years old. And a lot of the antique people would just walk by it because, oh, that's not old, that's not old. So look at a generation that is starting to collect now and what is their nostalgia. That's why JF with video games, it's an excellent area. There's a lot to know about video games. I know very little, just a cursory amount, but it is a whole category. But I would say that, think back to what you liked when you were, 15 or 20 years younger than you are now, and start looking for those sorts of things because you're going to recognize it and you'll know what to look for because you'll remember it. So I think starting with whatever knowledge base you have and then expanding it from there is great. I know I do a little of everything. I don't recommend that for most people. I think they should stick to a couple of areas and really get to know them and get better and better at them and do things you really like. And then you'll start to develop an audience and you'll find people like you and they'll buy from you. And then you can kind of expand out from there. The other thing about thrifting to me is get to know your thrift store. If you're in I travel all over, so I don't get to do this, but if you go to the same thrift store a lot, ask them when they restock. Do they do it in the morning? Do they do it on Tuesday? There are certain things where you can be right there. I know in Seattle, all the antique dealers have figured out what day the big Goodwill there stocks. And it's Tuesday morning, and 20 of them are there, and they are digging through the stuff as fast as it comes off the cart. And sometimes they find really amazing things because they are right on it. So that's a good way to start with the thrifting part of it too. And like he said, look for, ask people around you. People sometimes are just like, oh, here's some stuff I don't want anymore. And, that's a way to start too. I mean, now that I've been in the business a while, my friends and neighbors all know if they're sick of something, oh, just give it to George and he'll get rid of it and you'll get a check.
Yeah, I would agree with what they just said. And if you're for the thrifting part, that's how I started out. I started out like only in thrift stores, and I went for what exactly that I knew at that time. So I was trying to learn clothes and stuff, but that's how like golf clubs and tools came into play. So I worked on that knowledge I already had because I had a pretty good knowledge of tools, especially. And then the reselling, you don't need like. I just set my dad up. He's retired and he should start doing this. So, I said, you just need a decent phone, some decent lighting, and then everything else will kind of fall in. So he's selling stuff that he already owns and knows, good stuff about that he's already collected and everything. And it kind of, like you said, cost in the beginning is very low. A decent cell phone, that's really all you need to get started. And that was it. And he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is to just start. A lot of people like amass a ton of things and they're scared to list. Like I see that all the time. They're like, oh, I have this room full of stuff. Just start. Like even if it's just a few items, you can build on that and just start, and you will learn as you go. You will make mistakes. I still make mistakes. That's going to happen. Don't beat yourself up, and hopefully it's not a very costly mistake, though those occasionally do happen. But the biggest thing is to start. So just list. When you're listing, make sure you're putting your weights in appropriately for shipping so you don't get got that way. And definitely the free stuff. Like I did that as well. I still, even though I buy boxes, every Amazon box I get, I keep, because I get subscribe and save. So I get big Amazon boxes, which come into those come very handy when I'm shipping out these larger items. And I do see all the super chat guys. I'm going to get the first one now. I saw there were 3 of them. So neat finds from Naomi. I'm going to give you a dolphin. And if you guys don't want dolphins, tell me. I know some people don't. Just tell me. And she doesn't. She wants to give a big thanks to George for giving her info on her Ansel Adams, which is awesome. I think most of us too, real quick before I give her dolphin, most of us are very accessible. If you reach out to any of us on Instagram, we will answer you and we will help you. And that's why we made our YouTube channels. We're here to help you learn, and we're happy to answer you. So here's Naomi's dolphin, even though she's probably not here anymore. Super chat. Thank you, Naomi. I see another question for George. Are the vintage towels, Christmas pendants, and ornaments selling at a good price, like 12 Days of Christmas and Melodies, etc.?
There's a handful that do, but I'm actually surprised. I keep thinking they're going to pick up, but what's happened with those is the cost of the sterling in them has risen to the point where any extra value they had for collectability is kind of been washed out by the fact that the metal itself is worth the dollar. So they're not bad to buy, but they're also part of, with Christmas collectibles, there's all the fun, cool vintage stuff from the 50s and 60s and 70s and even older that people are really excited about because it reminds them of when they were little kids. And then there's all the collector plates and all the collector ornaments and all the things that some people are excited about, but they made a ton of them. And year after year after year, they even had collectors clubs where you just sort of be on this mill where it's like, you're getting one, whether you want it or not. We're going to send it to you in the
monthly subscription thing. Yeah,
exactly.
I tell people that with plates all the time. Like if it was mass produced, like Avon's the same way. This stuff is mass produced. So if it was mass produced, then the collectible value is going to be not there.
Right. When you see a plate and it says it's limited to 150 firing days, do you know how many plates they can make in 150 days in a factory? They can make a whole bunch of plates, thousands and thousands and thousands. So, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. But I do like the told Christmas stuff. I think it's well made. I think it will be more collectible in the future, but I don't really see a lot of premium other than specific ones. It's kind of like Hallmark ornaments. And to be truthful, it's like about 95% of collectibles. 95% are low value, 4% are a little better, and then 1% are really scarce, and that's what everybody pays big money for. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. Mark has a question, and while everybody else is answering, I've got to go help Dalton do something. So Mark wants to know, how do you deal with returns that were items with new tags, but will not obviously be returned new with tags. So we'll let JF kick that off.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't really sell clothing, but not all returns are returned in the same condition that they were sent. I mean, there's not really much. I mean, also it depends where you sell. I mean, some people are selling on Poshmark and these other websites that I'm not very familiar with. But with eBay, you have to ask yourself, is this worth my time to deal with? And if not, most of the time we just eat the hit. I mean, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? You know, it's your word against theirs. eBay, I don't want to sound whatever, but eBay is often very biased for the buyer as opposed to the seller. And you have to really have like incriminating evidence. If you have a video of them running it over with a tank, maybe they'll back you. But I mean, I think that's just part of running a business. I mean, it's the same thing if you would work in a retail store. Some people shoplift in stores, just like some people say our items don't arrive when we know very well they probably did, but it's just one of those things. And some people will return a piece of clothing in the retail store and they have to accept it. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Yeah. Las Vegas Thrift said, well, eBay states the item must be in the same condition as sent, but what does that really mean? I mean, if someone is going to put something on, like clothing, they're going to have to take the tag off because you wouldn't wear it with the tag on. And then if it doesn't fit or it's the wrong thing, one thing you can do, and it may help a little, is you can set up your template on eBay, and I'm sure on some of these other sites too, where your policies are very clear. And if somebody is returning something that was sent new with tags, you can say it has to be returned with all of the tags and wrap and whatever it came with, and make that part of your policy. And it may or may not actually win you a case if it comes to that, but at least a lot of buyers who are buying something like that will think, oh, okay, if I try this on and don't like it, I need to send them back everything. So maybe that helps. I don't know.
I think it does.
You can also, Kat, can't you do like 50% off of that?
And that is exactly what I would do. And if they put a stain or something on it, you can also request eBay reimburse you the other 50%, and you get 100%. If you're a top rated seller, that's one of the protections. And eBay will actually cover the return shipping as well. If you tell them, hey, this customer bought this new, it was returned to me used or damaged, you provide them photos, eBay will, you can yourself deduct the 50%, but eBay will reimburse you the other 50% if you're a top rated seller. I see another super chat from Bruce. I'm going to grab these super chats because I think I have 2 more to get to. So I'll give Bruce the Dolphin. Thank you so much. Bruce says, thanks for the lives and info. You are very welcome. We are happy to help. Super chat. Oh, this one's at Julian, beard buddy. I get pressured to shave it, but I want to be that whole dude. Let me give you your dolphin, and then we'll let Julian speak on. I'm assuming he means Julian, but George, both the other guys, everybody has a beard.
There's a lot of beard today.
Yeah. There's a lot of beard. All right, here's your dolphin. Super chat. And I saw them talking about used to take super chats for them to make you cut it off too.
No, this is I'm trim it a little bit because you got to trim it, once in a while to keep it nice and healthy and stuff. I watch actually a live on Dancy Beard. He's a big beard dude. He's got a real big beard, and I want to be that guy. Yeah, I want to be like when I'm older. All this is gray and it's like down here somewhere. So it'll be cut short here and there, but when I get older, it's never going to be cut.
All right, let me grab the other one. Where did it go? Oh, here it is.
I've actually had this thought in my head for months now. What would your channel is called the Bearded Thrift Guy. I mean, where would you go from there? I mean,
I would wear a fake one, I didn't think that it was gonna. I didn't know. No, let's just start from this. I didn't know that there was such a big YouTube community when it came to reselling when I first started. So like my girlfriend just made the thing up, and I was like, yeah, it's an awesome thing, and it's a good name. And I was like, now it's like, what happens if my beard like falls out or something? I don't know.
Then you're done. No, I'm just
done. I don't
Cut
know.
off.
Well, that's why
one
everybody
side
said, like,
and
what
other side.
if eventually I'm able to stop nursing? What? But I still nurse, you know. All right, Terry didn't say anything, but sent $4.99 super chat. Terry, thank you.
Super chat.
Oh, Anita's coming in too, not saying anything. Okay, there's a bunch of dolphins. So for you non-dolphin people, I'm so sorry. Nobody said they didn't want a dolphin. I know Leroy never wants a dolphin, but Anita, here is your dolphin. Whoa, I'm
Super chat.
and that brought Dalton over. He heard the dolphin, so he came running. These beds are really high, so he has to like hike up the bed.
Yeah,
If
he's
you
like
see him,
bouncing around.
it's like climbing a mountain for him. Steven Fisher wants to know if, me and this laptop, guys, it's like the first day I've used it, so you got to give me a little leeway on my clicking
Pretty
skills.
good, yeah.
Doing good.
Steven wants to know, is everyone full-time resellers?
Yeah, so I've been a full-time reseller since April. So I left my full-time job as of April, and we're doing this full-time. Yes.
I left my full-time job, which was running a chain of antique malls, and so I got a really good start in the business 22 years ago, and I have worked only for myself ever since. And the boss is a jerk, but I sleep with him, so it's okay.
That's the best setting ever. That was good. I've been doing it for 2 years now. I left my full-time job 2 years ago.
And I consider myself full-time as of about a month ago. I am still nursing. But I'm doing it 2 days a week, which was the minimum I could do to keep my health benefits, which with this little one here is important to me right now. And I'm not making enough to feel comfortable providing myself with my own insurance. Okay.
You will.
You'll get another dolphin in a minute.
Yeah, you'll get there.
He said, I want another dog. That's what he did last time he was in there. So normally my husband keeps him and I'm out in the shed when I'm live. But my husband is at home running the eBay store and my mom is here and they were at the pool and he came up and she's trying to convince him to stay. Last night we were at the pool until 11 p.m. because they're open till 11. And we got here really late and I had promised him the whole day. So we went and closed the pool down at 11 last night. That's what we were doing, hanging at the pool. Carol C., when you sell your own or someone else's items, how do you account for the original cost at the end of the year?
So that's a very good question. But the thing is, every state and every province has a different way of kind of calculating that. But so for us, so those are two different things. So when you're doing someone else's items, that's consignment. So you kind of do a profit share with whatever. So we've only done a few of those, but when we sell mostly our own things. So how we account for the original cost at the end of year taxes, I mean, for us, you can just straight up, you have your revenue, like your sales revenue, and you can deduct all the cost of merchandise, but you have to keep track of it, right? You can't be like, yeah, I think I probably paid $20 for this and $10 for that. You need to have the proof or whatever. You need to it's important to have good bookkeeping, and it would be good to start that early so that at the end of your first year, you're not trying to remember things you bought 11 months ago. But I don't think that has to be complicated. That part of it is probably the simplest part tax-wise. You just need to add it all up, and we get to remove it as a deduction, but it might be different in different states.
Yeah, I think it does vary a lot, but because I'm dealing with a lot of discrete inventory, it's antiques and vintage, and you might come up with the same thing 2 or 3 times, but I'm not usually selling 100 of one thing. So I can't use an inventory system where you sort of just dollar cost average it out. I actually keep track of every item, what I paid for it, and when it sells. I put that amount back into my buying fund, which is important because otherwise you end up living off of the money that you had to spend on merchandise, and then you don't have merchandise or money. I learned that the hard way the first year. And I put the taxes aside right away and put them in account and hold them to the end of the year. I just figure it's not going to be my money anyway, so I just want to make sure I have it. As far as the consigners, I take my percentage and I pay taxes on my percentage. And what they do is up to them. I have proof that I paid them. Some consigners, most consigners are just some person selling their old stuff. And in most places in the United States, you don't have to declare that as income. So I think they just take the check and put it in the bank. I don't really know. If they are a reseller or someone else, which happens sometimes. I mean, sometimes someone says, oh, you have a customer for that. Here, I'm just going to give you all of mine. You can sell them to them. Well, then they need to keep track of their cost of goods and all of that and report. But that's, again, up to them. So the stuff that's mine, I keep track of everything. And I keep track of what I paid my consigners and what I sold. And then the rest is up to them.
Yeah, I've actually never done any type of consignment just because I think it would make my head hurt and I don't want to, it would just be too much for me. I know that would be beat on that, but selling your own stuff, you'd have to talk to an actual tax person, because I think that, I don't want to overstate, but I think that if you're just selling your own stuff, you're at a yard sale, you're selling it for way less than you bought it for. So there's a tax thing there. You've got to talk to a tax person, and unless you're selling $30,000 worth of your stuff or something. Something's got to happen there. If you bought your stuff 20 years ago and you're selling for $1, then I think that you're not making a profit on that. That you're just, do you know what I'm saying? It's different if you're just selling off your stuff. The people that have a yard sale once a year, and I don't think the IRS, because they're making you're taking a loss basically, because you're not selling it for more money because you bought it. You know what I'm saying? So I would definitely talk to, unless you're selling a large quantity, you're going to end up 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, then you might want to talk to somebody. But
yeah. And I don't do consignment either. Just the same thing. For me, it's too much of a hassle. I have enough of my own stuff to list, let alone trying to take on somebody else's stuff. I have too much stuff of my own. And as far as the original cost of your items, if it's a lot of stuff like clothes or something, I feel like you could also buy it from yourself to put into inventory at a reasonable price. Pay yourself out of the business account. Write yourself a check, $50 for clothing inventory, or something like that. But I would ask an accountant too. I very heavily rely on my accountant. I will tell you guys that I do not do much paperwork. I really don't do any paperwork myself. So if I have something that I'm kind of questioning on, I will just shoot him a text and say, hey, in this situation, what do I do? What's the best way to handle it? So if you're getting to where you're selling enough amount, like JF said, make sure you track it. That's a big thing, because if you don't track it, especially mileage and things like that, you're not going to have that to go back on when it does come tax time. And it looks like you made all this money, but you had to drive 100 miles to pick one thing up, or just all your different costs you have to figure out as well. Denise wants to know, George, have you ever lived in Puerto Rico?
No, I've been there twice and I really enjoyed it. And it's fun to go because, it is the United States. So it's a place that feels exotic and foreign, but you don't need a passport. I liked it, and I didn't really do much antiquing, but I've got a good client who comes to the shows in Florida who has a great shop in San Juan and buys really great Art Deco. And unfortunately, she said that a lot of her business right now is replacing stuff for people who can afford to replace the stuff they lost in the hurricane. So apparently business is booming in Puerto Rico if you have clients in the upper echelon who can afford it.
Yeah, they got hit pretty hard. Teacher Treasure Chest wants to know if any of us have a business card, thinking I need to give one out to estate sales reps. What do the estate sales do with the leftovers? Jeff, look.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, so business cards are important. So this is actually a thank you card. So it just says, we appreciate you by shopping with us. You're supporting local business. Here's a discount code for your next purchase to get whatever off, and no one ever uses it. But on the front, we also have like our social media, the YouTube channel, the whatever. But the next batch we're going to make, so I was a little ambitious when I made the last batch because I assumed our sales were going to continue to climb, but we're still using the old ones. But I'm going to remake them to actually have it as a business card, because some people put a lot of stock in that, and it's just nice to be able to give it to someone, even just locally or whatever, right? And be like, okay, give me a call, or here's my information, let's make this work and let's connect and whatever. You know, some people really like the classic way of networking, and it does make you look a lot more professional, and not everybody is as charismatic or confident or comfortable as some people who have been doing it for so long, right? So this kind of can help out with that.
Yeah, and as far as what estate sale people do with the leftovers, I conduct estate sales, and I'll tell you, if someone comes to me near the end of the estate sale and says, I'm interested in a bunch of X, like some category, like I'll buy all the rest of the costume jewelry for one price at, you know, the sale closes at 2. I'll come back at 2 and give you an amount for all of the costume jewelry or all of the clothes, or I'll buy out the whole estate. You better believe I am very, very interested in that, because it depends where you are. In some places, there's lots of flea market sellers and people that will just come and scavenge at the end of a sale, and you can just sell it easily. But in a lot of areas that I sell now, there's not as many flea markets, so there aren't as many people coming around at the end looking for deals on what's left. So you will, depending where you are, you could have your pick of a lot of things. And there are good things left at the end of estate sales. Every time I do an estate sale, there's something that sells that I just think, I can't believe somebody bought that, like the woman who bought the broken greasy transmission housing from an Oldsmobile that we had like a caution tape around it in the garage. And she calls her husband and says, bring our son and come over here and pick this thing up. And oh, they cursed and spat, and they were so mad that she bought it. It turned out she wanted to make a planter out of it in the garden. So you just never know what'll sell. But you also would be surprised how many nice things don't sell. If you only have 2 or 3 days to sell, particularly if, you know, we get calls sometimes where they call us on like the week before and say, I have to have everything sold and moved out by the end of next weekend. Well, you know, we're looking for anybody who wants to come and give us anything for the stuff that's left, because otherwise it's getting donated. So yes, get a business card, give it to the estate sale people, make friends with them, you know, and, you know, maybe come to the estate sale and buy some things while the estate sale is going, so they know you're serious.
Yeah.
I don't have one though.
Mr. Print, so cheap, man.
Yeah. I have one, a thank you one that I put in with like my purchases, or I got it for that. I did not follow through with it. Dalton is trying to show his shovel that he made his sandcastle with today. But I really want one, like JF would say, I want one to hand out at the estate sales, and I don't have one. I really need to get one made. And like George was saying, a lot of the estate sales, I do that. I'll go buy what I really want, and I'll say, hey, I'm interested in all of the health and beauty stuff in the bathroom. So at the end of the sale, if you're willing to make me a deal and cut me a price on all of it, call me. And I write my number down. I should have a business card to hand them. But I have also ran into ones where they won't come down on the price. Like they had it at retail. So I've seen them mark it down to 50%. And this happened a few months ago. And we're talking like close to $2,000 worth of stuff. And I said, hey, you know, how much for all? And they said, well, it's 50% off day. And they would not. I mean, they wouldn't even give me like $200 off of $2,000. And I said that I can't, you know, at 50% after I pay fees, you know, it's just not, you know, not with the mass quantity. Like if that was the case, I'd come pick out what I want for 50% off, but I'm offering to buy all of it from you. And they turned me down. And I mean, it was $1,500 and they told me no. So don't get discouraged if one tells you no, because that's not going to be the case all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes it depends on the situation. I mean, sometimes our hands are bound. I've conducted estate sales where people, they already have an arrangement like, oh, the auction company's taking everything that's left. We don't want you giving this stuff away at the end. Or, oh, we're going to pick through at the end and decide what we want to do with it. And I just say, great, I'll just walk away and give you the key, and then you can deal with all the junk that's left at the end, because there always is something left. So, you know, sometimes you really don't, and sometimes it's just their policy, but usually you can get somewhere with it.
Yeah, the one that told me no, the family said, no, we're not letting it. And it was a bunch of HSN and QVC stuff, and they knew how much the mom had paid. But like, I don't think they realized the amount of work it would take to get the money that they really wanted. You know, it was over 100 products, and they were decent selling, but just the time to list that stuff, it wasn't like 50 of one thing. It was a bunch of individual. And I don't think they, you know, really realized the amount of work that would go into it. I think I see a super chat from Arcade Treasure Center.
Oh, yeah.
Am I right? Do I know the logo? Where did it go? Why can I not find it?
Super sticker.
Where did it go? Oh, I see it. Where did it go? No, I don't see it. I see it
It's
at
up
the
there
top.
somewhere.
I see it at the top, but I don't see it. Do you guys see it on StreamYard?
Nope.
I see it at the top. That's weird. It's okay, Roy, I'm going to give you, I see it in the YouTube chat. I do not see it on StreamYard to highlight it, but Kim and Roy over at Arcade Treasure Center sent a really cute super sticker for $10. So I will give them a dolphin.
Super chat.
So just one last point on the business cards. So we buy them. I'm not an affiliate of Vistaprint, but they have really good prices for cards. And when you buy them in bulk, I think, and this is printed on both sides, so it costs twice as much. I think I paid 4 cents a card, which is amazing. But I bought like 2,000 of them or whatever. But they always have deals going on. And if you just Google Vistaprint coupon, I'm sure you can find a 40 or 50% off coupon and just slash the cost. Like, it's just crazy how cheap you can get them, and they're really good quality.
Yeah, that's where I got mine as well. They're very low cost. Kimberly Chupdovish over on Facebook says, who is your favorite shipper? I am seeing a lot of things break with USPS with them being too rough on packages. I pack very well and they are always stamped fragile. Help.
I'll keep this brief because really our only serious option is Canada Post. And generally speaking, they don't run packages over with their cars. They just charge a lot of money. So, I mean, we do have UPS and all these other things, but they're just not really cost effective here in Canada. But I don't know if we've ever really had anything arrive broken that wasn't our fault. Sometimes you can package it a little better. Sometimes it's obvious that it was mishandled. But I guess that's where the insurance would come in. And with Canada Post, insurance claims are a nightmare, but I've heard that with USPS it is better. So I don't really have much else to say, so I'll just pass it on.
I still like USPS. I had a friend who worked for UPS, and after he described how they handled the packages and some of the experience I'd had with them, I tried to avoid them like the plague. Unfortunately, USPS now has an arrangement with UPS and vice versa. So I am not convinced that some of those packages you send at one are not going the other. You know, she also said she stamps fragile on all of the packages. This is terrible to say, but I think that's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Like, oh, let's see if we can break this fragile thing. I actually stopped putting fragile on even my fragile stuff because it just seemed like it wasn't making any difference at all. The important thing is make sure you're following their guidelines. They really do mean it when they say if you're shipping some large breakable object that they want it in a box and then 2 inches of padding around all 4 sides of that in another box. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose your claim, even if you packed it really well. So that's the only thing I can say. I've had pretty good luck and cross my fingers it'll stay that way.
Yeah, I would say I still like USPS. I don't send a lot of real. I mean, I send golf clubs, but they did bend a golf club in half. It's just one of those things that's going to happen. You send a lot of golf clubs, one's going to get caught in something. But they still, I pack things pretty well, but it's one of those things. Some things will break. I mean, I ship out sometimes. I don't laugh because I feel bad for the packages underneath. Like I send out, still dumbbells. I'll pack a dumbbell, 60 pounds in one of those large flat rates. If that falls on anything, underneath of it is done. Like I don't care how you packed it, it's going to just crumble under 60 pounds. So just do the best you can. But I still do like USPS. They do pretty. I think they do all right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna agree with USPS. I'm also going to agree with George. I do not mark things fragile. I think that, again, puts a target on them, that people want to drop kick them if they're having a bad day at work. Oh, look, here's a fragile thing. And I would question, and not being mean, but if you are having a lot, I would question your packing. Because I send out over 100 breakables every week, and let me knock on this wood desk. I have not had anything break in months, and I ship them all over the world. I ship tons, in the States, and just last month I shipped 400 and none broke. So I would question if you really are I don't do box and box like George was saying, but I do layers of small bubble wrap followed by layers of big bubble wrap followed by paper surrounding it. You should be able to drop it off of a 10-story building and it should not break. So think about your box, and if you could go throw it out the window of my condo right now and your cup and saucer still be alive, then you packed it okay. And like I said, I'm not trying to be mean, but you got to protect it from everything else. Like Julian saying, his 60-pound box could it land on top of it, or there's probably rough handling, because I know they dump my sack in the cart at my post office, so I see it from the beginning. It's there, but I don't freak out if I drop my box from 4 feet, up in the air. If you freak out if you drop your box, then think again, or double box. Like George was saying, double box, but I don't double box. But if you're having a lot of breakage, you might want to consider double boxing stuff.
And the other thing is that there's a lot of pressure to put things in the smallest box possible because the shipping rates are going up again in October, and yes. It's just the cost of things is getting more. And, we all have to take that into account. You may need to buy things that sell for a higher price or things that aren't breakable and adjust what you're doing. The days of selling little stuff for $4 and $5 that's breakable, that's this size, all the profit gets eaten up by the shipping. So just don't do that. I mean, that stuff, that's part of why I sell in the real world too, is because there are certain things that just make no sense to ship. They're just no fun. They're too big. They're too heavy. It's not that they can't. Kat amazes me. She sends pieces of furniture through the mail. Now, I've done that too, but I really try to avoid it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not very common, but occasionally, I will sell a $10 coffee cup and the shipping's $12, but the buyer pays that. I'm not going to try and put a coffee cup under 1 pound into a 4x4 box and hope that somebody doesn't drop it. I would rather have the shipping higher, where if the buyer really wants it, they'll pay it. And I know that I can pack it, safely in a 6x6 surrounded by quite a bit of bubble wrap, or even some of the bigger coffee cups I ship in 8x8s. So yeah, and there's different sizes of them, but I want to make sure that I can adequately ship it and keep it safe. Otherwise, there's no point in me shipping it if it's going to end up broke. Hot mess picker. Everyone here has years of experience. So have you noticed that things you sourced years ago went by the wayside and now they're popular again, such as VHS?
Yeah, for sure. Again, like I said, we sell a lot of collectibles and a lot of video games, and every year that goes by, what was a collectible 10 years ago is getting more rare, and it's gaining in value. And if we didn't touch anything in our store, we have close to 200,000 of value in our store right now. It's like 178. If we didn't touch anything for 5 years, I don't know how much it would be worth. It might be worth 500,000 just by sitting there, because the value of things goes up. But yeah, like video games, new consoles come out, so the old stuff is older, so it has more value. And stuff that used to sell for $10 can sell for 30 now in certain cases, and especially also for cards like hockey cards, Magic cards, Pokemon cards. As time goes on, they become more and more valuable because they're older. They're becoming vintage, as opposed to just being kind of old. They become vintage. And actually, sorry, and actually, at this point, DVDs are worth more than Blu-rays. But in people's minds, their Blu-rays are still more valuable. But for a seller, you can get it. Like, I can get a DVD for 50 cents any day of the week, but people still want $2 for a Blu-ray. But I don't get any more money when I sell a Blu-ray. I still have to sell it for the same as a DVD. So we don't even buy Blu-rays anymore. We just buy DVDs. And I mean, that's just one example for me.
That's a really good example too, because markets go up and markets go down, and information, it's so available, and yet there's still a lag. For the antique and vintage market, a good example is 30 years ago, depression glass was the most collected thing other than coins and stamps in the United States and Canada. And it was really hot, and it sold for big numbers, and every year there'd be a reference book that would come out, and the numbers would be higher than last year, and my collection is more valuable, and my inventory is more valuable. And then eBay came, and it turned out that a lot of the stuff that seemed rare wasn't, because it was just that it was all distributed in one area, and suddenly everybody had access, and the prices really fell. Now green depression glass is uranium glass because it glows under a black light, which it always did, but a new generation has discovered that and thinks it's really cool. And now all of a sudden green depression glass is very popular and selling for good numbers again, but pink is still not. So, it's partly that things ebb and flow, and it's also that you kind of have to watch both the generational shift and the trends in new things. If you look at new decorating magazines, it's a good indication of what's going to become popular in antiques and vintage, because the colors that are in the decorating magazines are in people's heads. And even if they're buying old stuff, they're going to look for stuff that matches that. So, it really is trendier than you think, and trends are up and trends are down.
They were two really good answers. I literally have nothing else to say. That was good. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
It was good. And I don't have much to add either, because I'm constantly switching what I'm picking up. Like, I'm not picking up like one type of thing where I would notice that shift, and I constantly am comping things. So I have nothing to add to it really either. I don't know if any of us can answer this, but I'm going to put this up for Miss Jennifer. Have any of you had to deal with living with a smoker and keeping your inventory from smelling? And do you have any advice other than divorcing him? She's not trying to get divorced. Any advice that you could give her?
Man, sorry to all smokers, but that stuff sticks. The smell of cigarette really sticks to stuff. And we've actually had, so I'm a non-smoker. I'm actually very sensitive to the smell of smoke, but almost all my friends are smokers. But so if you have an item that's from a smoking home and you have an item that's from a non-smoking home, you can smell the difference. Sometimes there can even be discoloration on the item. Like, it just depends what it is. Like, you can have like old consoles, like old video game consoles that would be like gray or even white, would turn like yellow, beige. I'm not a relationship counselor. I'm not a certified professional when it comes to all of this stuff. But I would say, if divorce is not an option, which probably shouldn't be your first option for sure, I think it's just a conversation you need to have with that person, because you probably have, hopefully you have your stock in one area. So if they can just not be in that area smoking, your stuff will be fine. I mean, but if he's in the room smoking, it will affect your inventory. And we've had complaints about stuff that I bought 6 months ago that still smelled because it was from a smoking room. So.
Yeah, and it is hard to get out. It can be really insidious, and I think that's great advice. And if the smoke is just so heavy that it's permeating every room, you might have to get a she shed or a storage locker and have your inventory be there, because that's just the reality. We did an estate sale once, 25 years ago, and everybody in the family chain smoked. It was full of the most wonderful vintage clothes, and we couldn't sell any of it because it all stunk. And the people who did buy stuff, some people we knew who were dealers in vintage clothing, said, we tried and tried and tried and could never get the smell out. So, if you're going through an estate, look things over, give them the smell test, and also, remember to really clean them thoroughly. I sold an iCard print the other day to a viewer, and I noticed that the top had a film, and then I cleaned the glass, and yes, it was definitely a smoking house. Now, the good thing was that I was able to air it out, and it's nice and clean, and I think they're going to be happy. But you really have to watch that, because people will complain and they'll send things back to you. One thing about this, I'm around someone who's very allergic to things, and so I have to be really careful about what I bring into the house that came from some other house, because if there's cat dander, it could be like seriously a medical emergency. So, you kind of have to think that just because, wow, I picked this up in the thrift store and I can make money on it, you don't know where it came from. So just assume everything is really dirty and that you need to take care of it.
Yeah, I was actually going to go straight to I would move it like a storage locker or something like that. If it's like one of those things that smoke's been in the house and that's, what's going on. It's just, I would just move the inventory. I would sell a little bit more so I could get me like a storage locker or something like that. Just get it like out, and then that would be good. Like a small shed or anything, because that would probably be much easier than changing a behavior in a human to do something else.
Right.
So.
And I agree. I think even because like JF was saying, even that area, but if they're in an area that the central air intake is in, that smoke's still going to get pushed right into your inventory room if it's in the same house in the circulation, if your smoke's going through that system. So I agree, either a storage locker or a shed, because you will get complaints. And I don't get asked that often, but I still do get asked. People ask me, hey, is this from a smoke-free home? I actually had a couple ask that this week. I don't put that on mine, even though mine is. But I think it could really hurt your business as far as returns and possibly damaging things. Or on the flip side, if none of that is an option, you could buy stuff that is non-permeable, like glass, that you can wipe off and clean. Don't buy anything with fabric, or like plastic's going to soak it up too. So you would really need to go to like glass. You would need to go to glass. I can't really think of anything else that's not permeable, because, if it's not permeable, then you can just wipe it off like glass.
Tools.
Ceramics.
Yes. There we
metal.
go. So you might need to change up what you're sourcing if getting a shed or an offsite storage facility is not an option. That's another. Okay. Joy, I resell on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. I want to get a storefront. I'm assuming they mean like an actual store. Is that a good idea?
Well, I want to say probably not, but it really just depends. So Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Poshmark, yes, that one. They don't charge you an overhead. They'll charge you fees up the nose, but you only pay fees when you sell stuff for the most part. Whereas a storefront, you're going to pay the rent, you're going to pay whatever, regardless of if you have sales or not. That being said, there's a lot that we don't know about you to really answer this question. Do you have the market where you're from? Do you have visibility where you're from? Are people going to show up or not? And all this other stuff. So for a storefront to make sense, you need to have the sales to come with it to pay it. So it's a tricky question. I really can't answer that for you, but I hope that, yeah.
Yeah, it really is situational. I'm big on real world selling because I do a lot of it. And online selling is great too. For me, it's more of an adjunct. For most people watching this, it's the main thing that they do. Real world is, I do it because I kind of know the circuit. I've been to a lot of the antique shows. I know which ones seem to draw traffic. So I know I'm going to sell enough that the rent is not going to be that big a factor. And when you have a storefront, you have rent every month, but you're not paying commission. So it really depends. Is it useful to you in other ways? Like, I really need to get this stuff out of my house and I need somewhere for it to go. And I live in a little town where there's a lot of empty storefronts and it's cheap. So why not? That's one way. On the other hand, I have a friend in Seattle who has a $35,000 per month lease on his antique mall space that he rents. So he's got a huge nut to crack every month, but he deals in high-end modernism and he's really good at what he does and he's making good money doing that. So it really just depends on what level of involvement you want. One thing about a store is that you probably have to be there and it's hard to get out and source. That's why I rent spaces in other people's stores rather than running my own. It's, it just really depends on your personal situation.
I'm going to agree with what they just said. And I was just going to really hit on that as a personal thing. You have to be there. And that's one thing is like, either that you have to hire somebody. And I really like the online thing because it's like you have more freedom. Like I can work really hard all night long. And if I want to go fishing the next day, stuff will still sell on my eBay and I can be back soon enough to pack it and go to the post office. But if you have a storefront, somebody's got to be there, like making sales. So
yeah.
And running the cash register and looking for people doing stuff. I mean, so it is definitely a situational thing, but I like the freedom of the online.
Yeah, I agree with the situational. I kind of thought about it, but it goes back to the not wanting to have that commitment.
Yeah.
It's a commitment.
Mm-hmm. It's a big commitment. And again, so like Julian was saying, like if you have to source to get your stuff to resell, but you have a storefront that you are going to be open 5 or 6 days a week, then you're going to have to be there, or you're going to have to take on more overhead of hiring an employee unless you have, family or a spouse to do it. And I know a couple of people who have them because they're in little towns, like George said, and it's like $300 for like this big storefront, which, I mean, there's a couple of thrifts where I live that open. I don't know when they open. I feel like they open whenever they feel like it. Like one day a week I see them open. So if you used it as your base, maybe, and maybe open 3 days a week or something, I could see something like that for me. But again, it's all situational. And to me, in reselling, the more overhead you add, like booth rent, like George was saying, you're adding all these negatives. So you have to sell up to that point to break even. Where if we don't have booth rent and we don't have, I don't have a storage locker. I chose to buy sheds because I didn't want that monthly payment. Once I bought my shed and paid it off, then that's it. I'm not paying $50, $60, $70 a month. Because again, that's 50, 60, 70 more I have to hit just to break even before I start making profit. So I would think long and hard before I did that and really look at everything and talk with your family or whoever you would need working with you before you would go to start doing that. Miss Betty says, if and when do you ever ship an item with signature return request?
Sometimes, but and again, it really depends what you sell. We've actually had an item go unclaimed because they were upset that, so basically the postal people showed up, they weren't home, so they left like a card for them to go pick it up. They refused to go pick it up. So it got shipped back to us. They left us a negative feedback. And obviously we were able to get it removed. but it's just, I thought it was a cool option, and sometimes we get the option for free, but we've had some snags with it. But I mean, if you're selling something really expensive, you might want to work that out to have the signatures just to make sure, because if they signed on it, that's ironclad that you're in the clear that it was delivered to them. So there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just sent a set of silver flatware that I sold. I do once a month. I've got a membership, and the upper level members get to have early access to a video where I put 20 things on eBay and I show them what it is, and they list while they watch. And one of them was a set of silver flatware. Well, it went for over $2,000, and I already had put signature confirmation would be required, but it turned out eBay required it because the sale was over $1,000. So it wasn't even an option. I had to make them sign for it. I also got in a situation some years ago where I lost a $200 bracelet because someone bought it and they said, oh, it's a present for my aunt, please send it to her house. And then they claimed that they never got it, even though the post office showed that it had been delivered to their house. They just said, oh, someone stole it, it wasn't there. And because I didn't send it to the original person and I didn't make the person they had me send it to sign for it, I got nothing. So you probably want to look at the situation, and sometimes signature is necessary.
Yeah, I just sold those golf clubs I sent out. It was like $850 all in, and then eBay, that was a requirement. They said that it had to be sent with a signature. So I don't know where that threshold is, but I think that purchase was only like $850 something, like $852. So I don't know, but that's the only one I've ever done. But anything over like $500 or $300, I mean, I can't really hurt.
Yeah,
All right, you're making me feel bad. I didn't do signature requirement on my $600 Yadro I sold last week. So look at George's. So,
yeah, he's like, uh-oh.
Did you insure it?
Okay.
I did insure
Yeah.
it. I did insure it
That's
up to the
good.
value.
Oh,
So I probably should, and I do sell a lot of higher dollar items as well. My big thing, like JF was saying, is like if they have to sign and then they're not there and then it gets sent back. So I think if you are doing signature required, I would at least give the buyer a courtesy. Like George said, he had it already like notated that it would have signature required. Let your buyer know, because they need to make arrangements to be home. If they work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and they're never home when the mail person comes, hopefully they're off Saturday and can go to the post office with the slip and sign and, get the package. But I think if you're going to do it, at least minimally put it in your listing. And if it were me, I would follow up notifying them too. Because like when Brad and I have stuff that comes that requires signature, we make sure we're home that day. Like one of us will stay home if we want to make sure we get the package, because we know, okay, somebody has to sign for this. So yeah. How long does it take to get my hair colored? I think it took last time, which was last Wednesday, about 3.5 hours. And I would tell you guys something funny. I didn't think of it until after my head was in chlorine yesterday. And I was like, I just paid a lot of money for this color. But when your 3-year-old wants to go in the lazy river, you go in the lazy river, right? Whether or not you got your hair colored 3 days ago, that cost a lot of money. And so like in the water was like this trail of orange and purple behind me. And I'm like, so as you see though, it's still pretty decent, right? Pretty decent.
Yes.
So I immediately, I have this color saving shampoo because the vivid colors come out faster. They cost more to get done and they come out faster. So I immediately came up here with my special shampoo, washed my hair, there's a special conditioner, and I soaked it, and it looks okay. It probably would be more bright had I not dunked in chlorine yesterday. But I'm thinking while we're floating and he's kicking on the tube, I'm like, you know what? Whatever. It's worth it. We don't come on vacation often. And yes. And their pomade, which is the next question I see as your answer. Yes, he is absolutely loving it. He loves the water. It's funny though. He loves shells. But to him, a shell is a shell. So he picks up every single piece of shell that he comes across. So his bucket was 5 pounds because he picked up these big hunks of pieces of, giant shells. And so today we tried, I'm like, oh, look at this one, trying to get him to get some smaller whole shells versus hunks of whatever. I don't know what the big ones are, but they're, you know what I'm talking about? Like the big, they're like this thick, and he's just chunking them in his bucket. And the resort here has a pool that is 1.5 feet deep, the whole pool. It's like 30 feet by 60 feet. It's amazing for the kids. So he can run through it, and it has a submarine he can climb through. And yes, he is absolutely loving it. But then last night after the pool, he said, okay, I want to go home now. And I'm like, uh-oh. Like, because he hasn't really been away from home, you know, like on a vacation like this. So he was like, okay, time to go home, even though it, you know, it really took 12 hours to get here because we went thrifting. But Katie Poe, watched Julian's video on how he sets up his business, storage, and stock. Any tips on how not to get burned out on all of the stock that is everywhere? I corral to the basement, but it meets you at the door.
Yes, this is a great question. So this is discussing something we lovingly coined the death pile. But so you have to list, right? So some people just buy. They'll spend 8 hours buying. They'll buy 100 things, and they'll take time to list 10 things. But if you do that over and over and over, the pile never really gets smaller, and it only gets bigger. So when you're starting out, it's really important to list everything that you buy and to not buy more until you've listed all that stuff. So do we all follow that? No. But when you're starting out, it's super important. And everybody has a different comfort level with perfectionism, you know, how much, I mean, we can see in the background, Julian has a bunch of stuff, but it seems to be pretty well organized. But some people would lose their mind just having shelves with stuff on them, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I have stuff in the back, but we have a lot of stuff, man. And so in our store, we have, I don't know, 11 or 12,000 items. And it's not always very well organized, but you just have to make the best use of your space that you can. And so we were kind of confined to a garage, but we're actually in the process of moving somewhere, but that's a whole other thing. But so we kind of built upwards because there's really nowhere else to go. We even had clotheslines with action figures. Like, you just got to use the space that you have. You just got to use your space. But if the clutter, so if clutter drives you nuts, just spend some time organizing things. Put things in alphabetical order. If you have piles of things, turn them into organized piles of things. And I read something once that it's someone that said, imagine just in your living space that every item that you have around you made a small noise all the time.
That's
and
a horrifying
look at
thought.
how much stuff you have around you, and what kind of symphony would be played. Would it be just a hair-tearing noise, or would it be like a gentle stream? Right? So, I mean, I'm sure we all have too much stuff around, but it makes you think. And so sometimes you just need to cut down on the stuff that you have that's driving you nuts. But you also just have to work with the space that you have. So it's kind of a balancing act.
Yeah, boy, well put. And yikes. the thing that this sort of goes back also to the gal who was asking, should I open a store? She may have so much stuff sitting at home that maybe opening a store is a good idea. If it's cheap and you just open it once in a while and have a sale, it might be worth doing. I rent antique mall booths, and part of it is that not everything is going to sell online, not everything is going to sell right away, and you want somewhere else to put things. And do you want to put them where they're going to possibly sell and make money, or do you want to rent a storage locker? A friend of mine told me years ago when I said, I think I need to rent a storage locker, she said, don't do it, it's a trap, I have 3 of them. And I now have 3 of them, and she is completely right. You end up putting the stuff that's harder to sell or needs repair, or I'm going to get to it someday. It ends up at the bottom of the pile, and it's never seen again. And I am now in the process. I ended up buying a cheap storehouse in Kentucky in a little town. And oh, it's so sad. And so twice a year, I have basically an estate sale getting rid of my stuff. And it's the only way to do it. Sometimes you just have to say, it doesn't matter if I make money or lose money, this stuff just has to go so that I can get my head clear and start again. So I'm trying hard to keep things from coming into the house unless they are actively being dealt with right then. Like I'm taking a picture to put them online, or I'm doing something with it, and then it needs to go back to where it's going to sit until it sells.
Yeah, I would agree. I like the tolerance level thing because people have different tolerances of like how much stuff before you start feeling like it's closing in on you. My tolerance is pretty low. Like if I get like a pile of 50 to 100, I'm like, man, this is out of control. Like this is killing me. You know, I have a lot of stuff on shelves, and that's how I like to do it because I like to see it's not too bad. But if it starts making noise, game's over. But no, it's really like your tolerance level. And if you're an organized human, you need to go ahead and just do that continually, because then you really won't get like overwhelmed. But yeah, mine is 50 to 100 things sitting. It has to be cleaned. It would nag at me, and it just feels like, 'cause I have a whole bunch of shoes. I'm getting them done this week because I got like 35 to 40. They have to be cleaned, everything, but they're getting done because they've been killing me. Every time I walk by them, they scream, and it's annoying. So you really have to do your tolerance. And whenever you get to that point, like George just said, you gotta, it doesn't matter if you gotta like take a loss, just get it out and clean it. Because that's what my storage locker is. It was turning it into a miniature dump for myself. And like it would just go in there and I wouldn't see it. And I finally went there and I posted something on Facebook. I was like, whoever gets here first gets it for free. And it was just a ton of stuff that it would take forever to sell locally on Facebook Marketplace. Was it good stuff? Sure. But like I was done with it. It was killing me inside to see it just sit there. So now it's a little bit more organized in there, but sometimes you got to like just let it go.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in the storage locker.
Yeah, I will tell you, for me, it wasn't really like that bothersome to me. So my tolerance level is like up here. That's why I have like thousands of items. But my husband's tolerance level is down here. So I think you need to look at your space. So for me, buying my big shed, I said, I'm like going big or going home. I didn't want to have to buy shed after shed after shed. So I got a 12 by 40 with a lofted space. Half of it is shipping and YouTube and packing, listing. And the other half is all unlisted inventory. As well as the lofts are multi-purchases that were on pallets. And for me, getting it out of the house was a huge, like it was such like a relief to like walk in and actually have a dining room table. Like imagine that I hadn't seen in months, because my buys would go there, because before buying the new shed, everything went in the house until it was listed. And then I had my listed areas, but you couldn't, like, I never saw my dining room table. My spare bedroom, the bed was covered. So if anybody wanted to come stay, they couldn't stay there. And so now I bought that shed I bought it for unlisted inventory. So like, I'm not like Julian, like I'm okay having this stuff unlisted, but I don't want it in my house. I think that separation of, your living space versus your business space is a big thing, whether it's a spare bedroom you keep it confined to, but when it starts to overflow that, and again, it's tolerance level. You might be able to tolerate, not seeing over your coffee table to the TV because your inventory is there. If you can tolerate it, it's fine. But if it starts bothering you, take their advice, sell it, cheap. And I have started, like, my sales have went up. I send lower offers on stuff that I've had a year and a half. I'm like, I'm going to get their attention with this offer because I want it gone. Hey, I have somebody's eyes on it, and I accept them lower, too, if it's been there a while, and that gets rid of it. Kathy wants to know, and I don't know if George might be able to answer. I think me and George are the only ones I know that sell Native American items. George, do you have any like feedback for this question. Is anyone having a problem selling Native American items? I keep getting a note saying I can't list it.
It's kind of difficult. eBay is very particular, and what they're trying to do is to protect people from forgeries and also to protect the tribes from having something that might be like a pre-white settlement museum piece that really legally still should belong to the tribe end up selling on eBay. A lot of these rules and regs that eBay is putting in now, like no adults only category, and you can't sell jarts, and you can't sell clacker, bolo balls and that clacker balls, all that sort of stuff. It's more about eBay protecting eBay. It's not really about protecting the customer. So this is one of the things that has come up with me. And what I find is that I will, if I get that notice on the listing, usually it's because I'm saying something is Native American, but I haven't attributed it or dated it. And so you either have to have an actual attribution to a tribe or an artist, or you have to rephrase it in some way that doesn't use the term Native American. So for example, I sell a lot of Northwest Salish tribe Indian baskets. And so I will put Northwest Native basket, but I won't use the term Native American because that's what the algorithm looks for and that's what trips you up. So that's the only thing I've been able to do to get around it and still list things that are completely legitimate and legal to sell.
Yeah, and I think I know Mercari has a new Native American category, and on Mercari, if you don't put it in that category, they don't allow the listing. But if you do put it in the Native American, they will. So they'll block you if it's not in the proper category. But if it's in the proper, it goes through. And that I've noticed that with eBay some too. Like if you're trying to put it in a different category that's not under like the Native American genre, it'll kick it out as well. So just make sure that your category is correct. And like George said, like either take a word out or attribute it to a certain tribe if you're able to. And it should hopefully go through. I've been able to list, everything that I've tried. So hopefully. DMB, do you claim your internet and computers as a deduction?
Yeah, so I mean, again, all tax questions are a little tricky to answer, but for us, in most places in Canada, again, it depends how you're running it. If you're running it like a business, yeah. If you're running it as you're just selling stuff out of your shed, I mean, you're not really allowed to deduct anything because you're not claiming any income. But assuming that you're running it the correct way and you are claiming income, so in my area, you can claim part of the internet and the expenses of your house that are actually used towards your business. So if I use roughly a third of my house, probably more, but I claim about a third of my house is being used for my business. So I have this office, I have my whole basement, which is inventory, I have my guest room, and all of that is being used. And you can claim, so over here, you can claim part of your interest payments on your mortgage, you can claim part of your insurance, and basically a percentage of all the important expenses within reason that, I mean, if you get a new deck built, you can't claim that because that has nothing to do with running a business. But it's just one of those things where it's about being reasonable also with the claims that you make.
Absolutely. And at the same time, I'll tell you, giant corporations have laced the tax system in the United States, certainly, with tons and tons and tons of deductions. And if you are running a business on your own, and you're really running it as a business and you're reporting the income and paying the taxes, you are entitled to the same deductions that they get. You're just playing the same game they are. So I've been audited once, and I've been doing this, like I said, a little over 20 years. I came through the audit with flying colors because I had all my paperwork in order and all of my stuff. And they said, well, yeah, you can prove it. And yes, these are all legitimate deductions. They just don't like the fact that little guys have figured out how to do this. but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. So I am really big on take every deduction that you legally can, but get a tax advisor. I have someone prepare my taxes every year. I don't do it myself because I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to and have someone else's eyes on it.
Yep. Exactly what they said.
Yeah, and I agree too. And I do claim my internet and computer because honestly, the only reason I'm on my computer is for eBay or Mercari or Facebook or YouTube, which are all business for me. I don't go on the internet really for anything else. And the same thing with my phone. So I claim my phone. I claim my trash. I claim like half of my trash because half of my trash is coming out of the shed, from stuff from the inventory. So we have to pay for trash pickup every 3 months, and we claim a portion of that. And we do what JF said too, because part of the home, and then we do the interest, and that's where an accountant comes into play. I pay my accountant $175 a month, so he has everything from the whole year, and then he does prepare my taxes. I pay him extra for that. The $175 a month, just like my monthly bookkeeping, but it's actually an accountant doing it, just because I want to be extra safe. I probably could get a bookkeeper for cheaper, but I feel better knowing he's doing it all year. And then he's who's, doing my tax work at the end of the year. And I would rather pay him. I started paying him $175 a month when I was making about $2,000 a month in sales, just because I didn't want to trip up. Plus the deductions, like they know all that little stuff that you might not know as just a lay person, like the percent of your mortgage interest and stuff like that. I don't want to deal with that, and your mileage and everything like that. Miss Pame, do you use a tax-exempt certificate for purchases?
I don't know what that is, so I'll just pass.
You may not have them there. It depends on the state. Some states no longer accept your out-of-state tax certificate if you're shopping elsewhere, but I use mine anywhere that they'll accept it. And it's a great thing. You basically just, because I sell, my residency is still Washington State, and I sell in a couple of antique malls there that actually pass the sales tax back to us, and we have to pay it anyway. And so I have to have a tax number for that purpose, but it means that when I go shopping anywhere, if they say, well, if you have a tax number, we take the tax off. Well, heck, that saves 6 to 10% depending on where you're shopping. So I absolutely use it anywhere that'll let me. And a lot of thrift store chains will let you use that. It's not just antique stores. So I recommend getting one if you're doing this seriously at all.
Yeah, Kat, did you notice today that you were not charged tax in Goodwill?
I did not.
Mm-hmm. So that's that. But we do, like, if for storage lockers, they do that. They'll have your.
So Goodwill doesn't charge tax here?
Mm-mm.
Oh. So I have mine, and I use it for the online auctions. I don't present it to the thrift stores. I probably could, but probably 80+% of my inventory comes from online auctions, and I use it for those, because when I go buy $3,000, we're talking hundreds of dollars saved. But what you need to keep in mind is when you buy that resale certificate, that means you have to report quarterly on your sales tax. If you do not, and I will tell you this from experience, it was over 10 years ago, but if you do not, and you had 0 sales because eBay collects your sales tax, right? And that's the only place you're selling. You still have to tell the government, I sold this much amount, but it was collected by eBay. So $0 are due, or they will charge you a $50 late fee. And guess what? On 0 sales, and they will charge you interest on that late fee. I think it was actually over 20 years ago that happened to me, but it did. And it, like, I had stopped selling online, but I still had my resale certificate, and I just didn't report. And the IRS was actually very nice about it and waived the fee for me when I was like, hey, I didn't sell anything. And it was the first time it had happened, but they will do that. Just FYI. Debbie Ray on Facebook. I need poly bags for shipping plush. Where can I get good prices? I get mine off Amazon, and I have my Amazon store in the link in my YouTube videos. I don't think it shows up in the Facebook side, And I get 24 by 18 or 24 by 24 poly bags. And I use those for my big plush and a lot of my throw blankets. Again, Roy and Kim, thank you for that super chat earlier. And thank you guys for coming in here. Angela, did you read this comment in the chat, Jeff? I'm an hour behind, guys. So our lightning round of questions coming up here in 10 minutes should be interesting. And Julian, did you see that one too?
I did, yes. I'm going to go watch it after this.
Joy, the white background app I use is Bazart. It's Bazaart. And I have a video probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now walking you through step by step exactly how to use it. I'm not affiliated with Bazart. I just love the program and it does an excellent job. I tried to be affiliated with them, I'll tell you, but they don't have a program. But yeah, and it is a monthly fee, but I think it's worth it. Kraus House, Sift, and Thrift. Have any of us dumpster dived or picked things up at the side of the road for reselling?
I haven't, but my parents did, and I know a lot of people that would. I mean, again, that all comes to tolerance level, but I've been given a lot of things. I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people do that. So, I mean, whatever, you go ahead. I'll just pay for it.
Well, our local bank was built in 1966, and it was the only modernist building in town, and it had great lobby furniture, and US Bank decided last year to close it, and they threw all of the lobby furniture in a dumpster. And I saw it sticking out of the dumpster, and it was in really good condition, and it was worth money. And I just thought, this is such a huge waste. This is going to go to a landfill for no good reason. So I went and dragged it out, and I still have the sofa, but the chair sold immediately for $200 the moment I set it on the sales floor. So yeah, I don't dig, like, you know, you see taco stacks and Paper and Moose and some of those where, I mean, Paper and Moose will literally dump a bag of garbage on the floor and pick through it. I can't quite get to that, especially because I've conducted enough estate sales that I know what's in that bag of garbage. But I'm not afraid to, you know, I was driving down the road the other day from a show in Michigan, and it was trash day, you know, twice a year, you just throw everything in a big pile. And there was a clothing rack that was perfect for display for shows just sitting there. And I thought, well, I'll take that. And then they had a couple of little chairs, and, you know, I mean, people throw away perfectly good stuff quite a lot, actually. It's kind of shocking in this day and age. You think everybody is like us and they reuse and recycle and do all those good things. And no, it's not true. People just get fed up and it's all in a pile out on the curb. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go through someone's old coffee grounds and baby diapers, but anything short of that, I'd game.
Yeah, definitely side of the road. But people do, they throw away all types of good stuff. Just right out there, side of the road, you can go pick it up. And at least in South Carolina, you can, not against the law or anything. But in my county dump, they it's amazing how many people throw away those blow molds. And I find them at least twice to 3 times now that I've gone in there, and they set them aside because the people that work there, they don't allow them to get crushed, I guess. And I'll always be like, what are you guys doing with those? They're like, we're saving them. Do you want them? I'm like, yeah. So because I'm always there, because like Kat said, you accumulate a lot of trash when you do this. Like when you buy stuff, you know, it's just boxes or whatnot. And so I'm always at the county dump. But yeah, they always save stuff. So you can't really go in and dive in those because it's the county owns it. But they set good things aside, chairs and all types of stuff that you can have for free.
So I have legit dumpster dived and a PetSmart thing, and they threw away tons of good dog food and cat food and expensive treats, and they weren't expired. And honestly, if I had the time and dumpsters near me, I probably would do it more often because I love the treasure hunt, and that is what that is. But I had to make somebody else go in. I am too big to get my butt out of it. I would get in and have to call 911 to come get me out of a dumpster. So, I bring smaller people with me and make them go in the dumpster. My sister-in-law did, and One of my friends from work, another nurse, went with me. I'm like, do you want to go after work? But where I'm at, there are no good ones close, so I don't do that. But on the side of the road, definitely, I will slam on the brakes if I see stuff out on trash day that looks like I could resell it. I'm going to stop and get it, and it's coming home with me.
Poor Dalton, I have this vision of you holding him by the ankles, like, okay, over there.
He's not that big yet, but he will be soon. That's a great idea, George. I see my good friend Tommy in the chat. I don't know if he's still here because I am an hour behind, but if you are, hello, Mr. Tommy. Thank you for coming in. 2 items on eBay sold, but the shipping got changed from what I put into a flat rate envelope and it wouldn't fit. How do I stop this?
I'm not sure how that would have happened. However, when you make a listing on eBay, you can give multiple options to the buyer in your listing. It's possible that without realizing that you had that extra option and they just would have chosen whatever would have been cheaper for them. Also, if it was sometimes in international sales, people don't realize how that works, I guess. And there's a lot of boxes that you need to check that you don't usually have to for domestic things. So it could be a problem in the way your listing is, because we like to complain about eBay, but generally speaking, the core of the system itself is decent. So there might be a way that you can, I guess, another way of saying it, there might be a way of protecting yourself of making your listing differently. But I'm really not sure what could have happened. But you could, if you're adventurous and bold, call eBay customer service and ask them to figure out what happened. I've did that once, and it made me look like a fool because it was totally my fault and it was stupid what we did. But at least we figured it out, right?
There you go.
It's just one of those things. If you really don't know, give them a call.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. I mean, sometimes you can get help, but the other thing that you may be experiencing, because this happens to me every single time, and I'm sure that it's because I'm still fairly naive about some eBay stuff. I don't do it enough to really know, but I'll put in the right shipping, the customer pays the right shipping, and then when I go to print the label, it always defaults to flat rate envelope shipping first, and you have to scroll down to the other options to find the one that works for you. Now, the thing that kind of makes me annoyed is that a lot of times I'm shipping first class and they say, oh, no, we don't offer that, after letting me list it, saying that they offered it because maybe it's too big or too heavy. And then I go to pirate ship, put the same information in, it takes it right away and prints me a label. So, you know, I don't know. It's, but I think you may need to just scroll down further, and you'll find that you can switch it back to the thing that you actually wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I remember the only thing I actually had to run in with was it was a while back. It was
glitch for the free shipping.
That got me like.
And that was a glitch
every week. Yep, until I figured it out. So. But I didn't have that issue, so I'm going to say that you just got to probably scroll down and there's something there going on.
Yeah, I'm wondering, George, if yours is defaulting to that, if you somehow accidentally made a business policy that like your preference is a padded or a flat rate envelope, and that's why it's doing it, like even though it's in your listings. And then if you do that, I wonder if it's not allowing you to do first class because you put it, you know what I'm saying? I'm wondering if it's set somewhere like that. That's my thought.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. That could
I would look into that. I would check and make sure you're listing, because sometimes there are glitches, like the free shipping thing was a glitch, but I haven't heard of any glitches like switching it like that to padded flat rate. And typically when we're out here on YouTube, I hear about it, because people will comment and let me know. So I typically do. Christine wants to know, George, she lives in, I cannot say that, Washington. And found you through me. Yay. I'm glad we're meshing communities is what these shows do. You know, it brings our communities together. How do I find out when you'll be in town and what sales you'll be at? She would love to meet you.
Well, Snohomish is the antique capital of the Northwest, and I do have a space at Star Center Mall, which I haven't been to in far too long. I'm ashamed, but I am going to go there at the end of this month and restock. I'm not sure which day. The last weekend of this month will be the new Portland, Oregon Antique Show, which I intend to be a part of as a seller. And then the following weekend is Spokane, and it'll be the first time since Spokane has had an antique show since before all of the mess happened last year. So in between those times, I'll be in Snohomish at some point, and hopefully I'll get to run into you there.
And do you tell people like in your videos upcoming where you're going to be at? You do, right? I feel like you do.
I do sometimes, and I also put it in the community tab, so
Okay.
You can see it there.
Okay, perfect. Mark, I see your super chat down there. Guys, I have an hour of questions to cover in 10 minutes. So
There you go.
let's see how good we are. Everybody, I think, has been through our quick fire round before, so they should be experienced at this. I am going to get, Mark, I'm going to read your super chat after the quick fire round, but I'm going to give you your dolphin now so I don't forget. So this dolphin is for Mark. And Mark and Pam, thank you both so much for stepping in for Richard since Richard wasn't here and sharing everybody's links and sharing my bubble wrap link and my t-shirt links. I really do appreciate you guys helping me. Thank you so much. Mark and Pam. It's like a double one for Mark and a single one for Pam. Here you go.
Super chat.
All right, so we are going to start the quick fire. We are going to answer as many questions as we can in the last 10 minutes, and let's go. Colleen wants to know, what is everyone's eBay name?
Resale Heroes.
The Antique Nomad.
Bearded Thrift.
And the Nurse Flippers. So all of our names are exactly the same as they are on YouTube, which is for branding. So definitely, if you look at our YouTube names, you will find them. What about buyer pays shipping? Should we be offering free shipping?
So I just made a video about that yesterday. It's just different buyers like different things. Some people like to pay $10 free shipping. Some people like to pay $6 with $4 shipping. It's still $10, but play around with it, try different things. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you are getting enough money to pay everything that you need.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah, figure out for you. For me, I promote. So that's one of the big reasons. I don't do free shipping because I don't want the extra promotion fee on the shipping cost. Vintage Thrifter, MCM Sifter. That is an awesome name. I like it. You all mentioned how to get boxes and bubble wrap for free, but how do you get newspapers for free?
Easy. Keep all your junk mail that you get and all the unwanted newspaper, and get a few of your friends and family to do the same and shove those in your boxes. That's what we do. And we sell hundreds of items every week, and we're able to sustain.
Yes, that's it. Ask your friends and neighbors because they're just going to burn or recycle or whatever. So it's sitting right there. Used to be that you could go to the newspapers and they would sell or give you the end rolls, but there's so few newspapers producing big runs now that it's not the same anymore.
Where I live, there's so many people coming in and moving here. It's like growing so fast that on Facebook Marketplace, any type of moving and packing paper is fairly accessible.
Oh.
That is nice. I got my last free newspapers from work because they bring so many stacks of them for the patients. And then if the patients don't take them, they get thrown out at the end of the day. So that is something I actually just started doing last week. I'm like, are you guys just throwing these away? And they said, yes. And I took the newspapers home. So that's what I did. George, I think you do not have a store. Is that correct? If so, why have you decided not to have one? I'm assuming they mean a storefront.
I'm not sure if they mean an eBay store. eBay had done a beta test where the store didn't end up being as good as not having one. I guess they've changed that, so I'm going to start an eBay store this month. As far as a storefront, well, my name's the Antique Nomad, and it's because at this point, being in a store means you will be there on some regular schedule all the time. And I'm not able to do that with the rest of the things that I do. It just isn't compatible. So I sell through antique malls and galleries and places where I can rent stuff and leave it.
So Kelly, so This question to me does not make sense. Start with the store or just sell similar. I will tell you, I have a store, but everything I list, I use sell similar. So I would just real quick say, if you are just starting, you don't need a store. I don't know if everybody will agree with that. I think once you get over your free listings where a store becomes beneficial, I would do it. But you can sell similar whether you have a store or not. So does anybody have any other input into that?
Yeah, so even without a store subscription, eBay gives you a certain amount of free listings that you can make. I think it's 100 or 150 in a month. It's not a lot, but it's free. And I mean, not everybody sells that much. So until you're passing that threshold, like Kat said, you don't need a store. And you should always sell similar anyway. So I guess yes and yes.
Yes.
Yes. Kim, you're completely correct because Brad has brown eyes. So Dalton 110% has my eyeballs. I haven't listed for 2 years. I was fighting cancer. I hope you're doing well now, Debbie. I will just say that, and that you beat it. It says you're recovering. Do I have to set up with the new payment plan, or can I pick up where I left? So eBay will tell you. I'll just answer that one real quick. eBay will tell you if you're required to go to manage payments. It's not an option that you have. If you don't switch to their payment system when they say you do, you cannot list. So eBay will tell you. I think some people are still surprisingly on PayPal. I heard that the other day. So yeah, eBay will tell you what to do. Ken Phelps, has anyone ever received a payment dispute where they claim they don't recognize the transaction? Am I correct that I'm getting scammed here?
I mean, it's possible that it's a legit claim, but it's more likely that you're being scammed. Because the thing with paying something on your credit card is I think you have 30 days that you can get a clawback on anything. So we haven't had that happen recently, but eBay has protections against that though. And PayPal does too.
I had it happen once, and I contacted the person and said, "Are you sure someone else in the house didn't order?" And it turned out it was his wife, and he didn't know it. So then it all got cleared up.
I also had that once, and I really think that I still got to keep my money. They said it was fraudulent, but PayPal, there was a protection there that I did everything correct, and it was just it was something fraudulent happened, but it didn't really affect me hardly at all. I got notified, and it was on hold, but they released my funds. I don't really remember how it played out, but it didn't make a lasting impression in my brain. So
yeah, I think I've had a couple. And the funny thing is, and I think this got talked about last week or the week before, the person left positive feedback and then disputed that they did not make the credit card transaction. So either they forget, older people are shopping online. That is completely possible. Or like I also have had where eBay's name came up different on their credit card statement. And they didn't realize that it was eBay. So I think in both cases, in mine, like Julian said, it ended up where I kept my money. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting scammed, but somebody's credit card could have got stolen. That my PayPal got hacked about 5 or 6 months ago, and they went on a $500 shopping spree on Depop with my PayPal account. And only one of the sellers listened to me. I emailed every seller because I could see what they bought and said, look, this was not me. This was fraudulent. This person hacked my account. Only one of them responded to me and didn't ship the item to the scammer who stole my account. But yeah, so it might be that person got scammed and you're getting scammed in the run. This is a funny question. Roy wants to know how many times have you walked by an item thinking it's only a few years old, forgetting that it is now considered vintage? Over 20 years. In my mind, 1990s was like yesterday.
It happens. It happens. Also, just things you forget have value, and then you remember, you didn't notice it at first, then you're thinking back. But it happens for sure.
Oh yeah, time marches on. Things that we were not allowed to sell in the stores because they were still available new when I started are now out of production collectibles and vintage. I don't really agree with the 20-year vintage thing. That's an Etsy thing, I think. I really think vintage is more like 30 because it needs a generation to miss the stuff before they start buying it back again. But, apples and oranges. The point is that, yeah, it's you just have to keep watching what actually sells to realize that things that you think aren't old are old.
True.
Yeah, I do. Like when I see New Kids on the Block stuff, like I had so many New Kids on the Block t-shirts. Like I was like big, like they would be worth a lot of money now if I had kept them. If you only knew when you were a teenager that like all of this stuff that you liked, even posters and stuff. So now I find it, I'm like, oh, I know, like George was saying, like that was my generation when I was in high school. And now I know like stuff that I liked will be popular. Like I got a towel that should sell for $35, a New Kids on the Block towel, because my generation is now wanting to find that stuff. So yeah. I'm going to let George take this one. Do you think you have to rent out space to others to be profitable as an antique shop?
Not necessarily. It depends what you sell and how much your rent is and the profit margin. But most places seem like they rent out at least a few spaces because it gives you more variety and also because it helps pay your bills.
Yes, I agree. Carol wants to know, do we think places are going to close down again from COVID?
Maybe.
Yes, in certain places.
Yes, in certain places.
States, yeah.
I think certain states might. I think others also aren't going to. I feel like Florida will not, just from what I've seen from the government from Florida. So I think some places might, but that's where like varying up your sourcing comes in handy. Mm-hmm. Like you need to buy online auctions, or at least do it once so you're familiar with it. So if you're a thrifter for your income, you need to have another way. Like Jeff uses his list, so that wouldn't be affected by a shutdown. But if he were to thrift, and thrifting's your main thing, then you definitely need to think about what you would do if that happens. To those of you that are in states that you think it might happen, like I said, I do not foresee Florida shutting down. Florida's governor has said that nowhere can require mask mandates. So I do not see Florida as being one of the states that is going to shut down. But if you are somewhere that might, make sure you know another way. My mom or me? My mom was just hanging at the pool earlier. I don't know. Have you made any new friends, Mom?
She made 2 today. She met me and Kayla.
Oh, yeah. Julian and Kayla. And we stopped at my friend Sue's in Savannah, Georgia. I'm scrolling. Listen, I'm almost to 9:30. I'm going.
Getting there.
I'm going. I saw another super chat too. I'm going to get it. Hold on. I'm going. We still have 450 people in the chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And I'm still looking for questions, so don't leave yet. That's so fun. Yes, that's me. My dining room table. Where did it go? We could invite hoarders into this chat, but I will eventually sell the stuff, Look there. Kevin says he hates stuff in his house. That's why Kevin's trying to get another shed.
That's right.
So he can have a death pile, maybe. Hold on. Do you hear me clicking? I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to find. I don't have a regular mouse. I'm on this little itty bitty laptop. This is a perfect question for my clicking and scrolling. Do you list items from a computer or on your phone? Which is easier?
So some people actually prefer it from the phone, but I much prefer it from the computer. I answered this in the chat. I found it more efficient. I can be much faster. I mean, I type like 100 words a minute. Not everyone can do that. Some people are faster with the touchscreen, but I find it way better with the computer.
Yeah, I'm a fast typer too, and I prefer it. I like being able to see the pictures on a larger screen and make sure they look good. It just works better for me.
I'm a this typer, and I'm real good at this. So I'm a phone guy.
And I am phone as well. And I want to point out to you guys, you just heard 50-50 from 4 different people. So they think it's easier on the computer. Julian and I think it's easier on the phone. So you really need to figure out what's easier for you.
Yes.
In reselling, you got to pull from different people and you got to make your own way. Like, that's why I like doing these shows, because you'll find a lot that half of us are going to answer one way and the other half are going to answer completely opposite, and that's fine. Like, we all are being profitable, we're all doing well. You just have to find your own way. George, I'm not reading it because then I would pronounce it. So there's your question. George, you may read the question.
Okay, the question is, how should Moriage be pronounced? And it should be pronounced Moriage, but most people say Moriaga or Moriage. It's Japanese, and because of living in Seattle, there's enough Japanese people, I've been told, no, you should say Moriage, so I do.
Okay, and I think I said it like that because I heard you say it like that the last time. But before, I was saying it all different kinds of ways. So Siggy wants to know, how do you wake up watchers to finally hit the buy button?
Yeah, so you can do a sale, you can lower your price, you can, if in certain situations, you can send offers out, and a lot of people don't know that. And those are easy ways that you can maybe change your pictures, change your description, because if you have watchers, any little change to your listing, they will get notified.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. I never thought of that.
I'm always, if like this weekend, I really wanted a lot of things to sell, and all my watchers, when I could send an offer, got a really good offer, and it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, and I agree. If you want to sell, like you really want it to go, then send them an amazing offer when that send offers to watchers pops up. Run a sale. Also, if you change your price by just like 2% lower, it will notify all those people that are watching your items. Joan, if you're talking about on eBay now, if you're PayPal only, would be PayPal, but on managed payments, I think they have like Apple Pay and Samsung Pay. They have like 6 different ways that people can pay now, which is one of the things, that makes that. Dave, nice of you to show up an hour and 43 minutes late, my good friend. No, I'm just kidding, Dave. It's fine. I still love you. At least he didn't say he's from the USA. I'm trying. Listen, I'm hoping I'm almost to 950. If you guys can hang with me for I'm being OCD about trying to answer all the questions. What are your thoughts about damaged treasures? List or donate?
List. Well, I guess it depends what it is, but we sell stuff that doesn't work all the time. We just sold 30 controllers that are broken, no battery, missing buttons, don't boot up at all for $50. It's crazy. It's stuff we would have thrown out, but someone out there is thinking they can fix them. And if they do, then they can make a killing, and I will gladly sell them my garbage. Sorry if you're ever watching this, but everything has value to the right person.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. I really don't like as is in my business because I'm dealing with a lot of hard goods, and so it's either perfect or it isn't. And certain categories, people are really picky. Glass collectors usually don't want any damage. On the other hand, there's lots of stuff that is good for parts only, and I'm noticing on a lot of people who are doing live sales on YouTube, people who watch YouTube seem to be a little more forgiving, partly because they can see the thing and see what the damage is and feel comfortable buying it. So I'm starting to soften a little bit, but I personally try not to buy things that are damaged unless they're just so cheap that I know I can sell them to someone as parts.
I'm impressed with how many clothes I sell and I definitely disclose that they have a stain, but they have a stain, and a lot of it the people still buy. You just put it down a little bit on the price, boom. And I don't pick up clothes with stains on purpose. That's stuff that I just missed.
But you see them, yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say, Julian, remember we were talking about in Thrift Store today, I picked up a uranium bowl with a tiny chip, and I was like, oh, I'll put that on the live sale. Yep. My live sale, people love uranium. I can show them, look, it's this tiny chip. They can see it, and I picked it up with the intention of my live sale because what if somebody can't afford a, regular uranium bowl without a chip? I do not try to pick them up again, but I do. I just had a Roseville 12-inch freesia planner that sold for $279 with a chip. very well photographed, very well disclosed, because there are none on the market. And that's a big thing. So for me, if I see a ton on the market in perfect condition, I'm probably not going to list it. However, if there are only a couple or there are none available, like that Roseville Frisia planner, there were none, and none had been available, I think, since 2018. So I knew, and it sold at a very high price with a chip. And my other Roseville pieces, I think all but one have imperfections, but there aren't that many of them. So I would not, and I got those in a buyout. So that's another thing. I didn't go out and thrift. I probably would have, honestly, I would have thrifted that Frisia planner anyway, but I don't typically look, I wouldn't pick it up if I noticed it unless I saw, nobody else has this item and collectors would want it. But I think you need to just make sure you disclose properly. I think we're going to get 2 more questions, guys. This one's for George, and then we will close out. Marie wants to know, did you skip Packwood last weekend?
Oh, it's the most amazing flea market ever, and I did skip it because the field I've sold in for years, they decided that they weren't going to let us sell there. I think they're still afraid of things with everything that's gone on, so I went shopping instead.
Listen, my husband's saying I'm ignoring him and that he sent me a super chat, which makes me get charged a fee on my own money. Kelly said, I'm going to find a super chat now. Kelly says pointers for international sales.
You know what? Most of my store is not international sales, not proud to say, but we're doing it one category at a time. So depending on how much stuff you have, start with what is easiest for you to figure out how much it costs. Someone else would say just go straight up the GSP program, Global Shipping Program, but that's what we're doing. So,
and make sure that you're using the right shipping program to ensure the things for the amount correctly. I sent something to England, it ended up broken, and it turned out that I had used one international shipping program instead of the other. I didn't know there were 2 options, and so I didn't get all of my money refunded, and that was really frustrating. So now I know better.
Yep. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I just say, and somebody asked, and I don't know the answer, and I don't know if anybody might, but they said, if you put £2 international, but it was the global, you're going to pay for that extra pound. Does anybody know, does that buyer end up incurring that international, £1 difference from eBay to international? I do not know the answer to that.
I'm not sure, but I do know on the thing that got broken that they had to pay customs to get a broken piece of merchandise. And that was really frustrating because that was another $70.
There's my husband's comment saying that Dalton has my eyes, but his attitude. I really have not seen, he apparently has been saying multiple things and says I was ignoring him, but I really was not. I did not see them. So New England Betty Boop, I will give you your super chat. And then I think there's another one, which probably is my husband, I'm thinking now. So I will grab that one. And then we are going to sign off because we are already 11 minutes over. New England Betty Boop says, so exciting. Me and Julian met in real life. Yes, it was really fun for me and Julian to go thrifting today. And I've found the few resellers I found, we go towards different stuff. So we're not bumping heads, even me and a couple of pickers went to estate sales that were smaller than a thrift store. And we went towards different stuff and we were able to pick side by side without anybody fighting over anything. So here, whoa, I just did something. Here is your super chat.
Super chat.
I really don't know what I just did. Whoa. I have I don't know. Okay, let me find this other super chat and then we are going to tell you guys all bye. Oh, your son is sleeping. That's what your son is doing. He passed out with his phone really loud. That was one of my disappear off camera moments. He had his phone blaring and was sleeping. So he is in bed. And that is what his super chat says. And I'm sure my husband is annoyed by the dolphin. So I am not going to give him one. I cannot figure out how to make my screen. Oh my gosh, I can't figure this thing out. I cannot make anybody big to say bye. So Jeff and George and you guys, everybody, including my own and Julian's channel, George's channel. And George also has a new live channel that is pretty cool as well. So George has 2 channels now that you can subscribe to. You're doing live sales and like shopping and stuff too, right, George?
Yeah, sales will come eventually. I just got monetized, or I'm about to. I'm just starting to really get the feel for it. But yeah, I walked around a bunch of flea markets this weekend and went live, and it was really fun.
Whoa, you guys, I don't know what I did with this thing. And then JF is Resale Heroes, so you guys definitely check him out as well. So Willie Joe, you're finding my old, I really wish I could work this laptop. You're finding my old eBay store is what you're doing. So if you go to the eBay link in the description, you will see my current one. I had 2 stores at one time, and the second one was originally the Nurse Flipper, and then I changed my main one with 3,000 items listed to the Nurse Flipper. So there should be 2 Nurse Flipper store. One was 0 items, and the other one has over 3,000 listed. So I can't even see the end button.
We're gonna be on all night.
Hold on. I'm gonna reload StreamYard. Hold on. Talk somebody.
Well, we appreciate all you guys coming out. Thanks
Absolutely.
for listening to us. You guys had great questions. I just want to say thank you to Kat, Julian, and George. It was a great cast as usual. And
I found the button.
oh no,
The echo button.
Oh.
She just left.
Wait,
That
no,
means-
no, no.
Oh, look, she's
I
back.
had it opened in 2. I really like this has got some kind of finger motion thing to like make the screen bigger, and then it moves it to the left and the right, and I do it without meaning to do it. So yeah, I'm glad I'm using you guys. So we still have over 400 in the chat. Definitely check these guys out if you're not subscribed. I believe, hold on. Don't leave. This is exciting. Hold on. Nobody leave. Everybody hold on for 2 seconds. I just have to confirm what I am about to tell you. Let's see. So next week, Richard, who is not here, is going to be on with John Cincinnati Picker, who is amazing. So I'm happy to have John Cincinnati Picker on. And then the following week is going to be Vintage Bombshell, Miss Selena, along with Jocelyn, Crazy Lamp Lady. So that will be an absolutely amazing. And Vintage Bombshell has never went live. This will be her first show. So some exciting couple of weeks coming up. You'll get to see Richard, who you guys normally see helping in the chat, up here with us, along with John Cincinnati Picker. And then we'll have Jocelyn and Vintage Bombshell the next week. So we're going to have a couple weeks of exciting shows every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will see you guys next week. I hopefully will have a video out for you.